after a visually stunning hour finale, WandaVision has finally come to an end with a really successful and server breaking 9-week run on Disney Plus. So I wanted to take a couple minutes and just review, looking back at all of the episodes, what went really awesome and what maybe could have gone better, and what this means for the MCU going forward. And I'll start with what I liked about it first. It was an amazing origin story, and that's really what this served as, is a new origin story for Wanda, finally making her the Scarlet Witch, right? And it's a little bit of a retcon, a little bit, to how she got her powers in the first place, but it's done in a really interesting and fun way, in a way that also makes sense, which I really appreciated. And it's nice to actually have Wanda in focus, because as a character, she hasn't really been utilized all that much, not as much as she could be, and not as much as some of the other Avengers get to be in the forefront. So it's nice to actually see her get some time and really get some character development. And currently she's got the most development of all the characters, because now, instead of just a movie, she got like 4.5 or 5 hours of screen time, because she got a Disney Plus series, which is really awesome. Although I will say that most of these episodes were too short. And now that they've confirmed that Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki will have hour-long episodes, they're still going to end up with more screen time than her, which is kind of disappointing. And I think she deserves more than that. But so far, she has the most, and it's still a really substantial amount of time. And I really appreciated that. And it's also a way for Elizabeth Olsen to finally really shine the way she deserves and the way she can. And even I did not know that she was really such an amazing actress. She's really grown a lot over time, and she's got a lot of really great talent. And this series really was a way for her to showcase all of that in a fantastic way. I love her. And I think it served her well. It's now, I think, made her very popular, and also made Scarlet Witch now as a character very popular, and will likely make her a very popular Avenger among the younger fans too now, which is really awesome. I'm so happy for her. And the VFX were amazing. Sometimes they were a little meh here and there. But overall, it was a really beautiful show to watch. And from beginning to end, it's just a very visually, actually quite stunning series, actually. And it's some darker material for the MCU, places that they don't typically go. And even now with all of this, and even in this story, it's a little glossy. They could go a little darker with some things, and I wish that they would. I know that they won't, but I wasn't expecting to even get the level that we got, and it looks just awesome. The scene with Agatha, especially with the witches, all of that stuff with the witches was really done fantastically. It's also the most relatable series I've seen in a long time. It's a show about learning to cope with grief and loss and the unfairness of life. They really highlight that at the end of Avengers Endgame, most of the Avengers got happy endings. And even the ones who didn't, like Tony, get a really awesome send-off. And they really get to close a chapter and really deal with it in a meaningful way. Wanda doesn't get any of those things. She can't do a funeral for Vision because he's not really a person. He's a machine, and he's made of material that's valuable to a lot of people who might want to take it and turn him into a weapon. Um, and she's kind of left with nothing. She's left with kind of just being alone. And all that she has to walk away with is an empty lot where she had hoped to one day have a normal life. And it's taken away from her. And she, watches Vision die more than once before she gets to that point. Um, so life, unfortunately, is not fair. And there's even a point where she says that she deserves these things. She deserves to be able to put Vision to rest. She deserves to have that moment that everybody else got, so she can move on. And she doesn't get it. And life sometimes is unfair in that way. But she does get that moment by the end of this series, which is also really, really great. But it's just a relatable show. And who doesn't escape into their favorite shows just to avoid what's going on in their life? It's just, it's such a great concept. And it's just amazing. I loved every bit of this story. And I love that she does get to have that moment, even if it's not entirely real, but she does get to say goodbye to Vision at the end in that really beautiful segment. It reminded me a lot of an episode of Angel, where Sarah Michelle Gellar guest starred as Buffy, and they something happened where Angel was made human, right? And they finally get to be together, only to realize that it can't last, and that ultimately it's not right, and that they have to let go. And Angel kind of sets time back, and they're both counting down to when this change is going to happen. And Angel's going to be the only one who remembers it anyway, but they're both just trying to savor this moment before they ultimately have to say goodbye. And it was almost like exactly the same thing in the WandaVision finale. And it was really cool to watch, and a really just beautiful scene. A lot of people were expecting this show to set up the multiverse, and it doesn't really hardcore go into that really at all. Even though Elizabeth Olsen is confirmed for Doctor Strange 2, and very strong, very, very strong rumor that she's going to show up in Spider-Man also. Also, the twins, the actors who play the twins have been spotted where Doctor Strange was filming. So they're likely to show up as well. We know they're going to appear in future projects. So it does set up some things. There is a very subtle nod to the multiverse in the book. I'm blanking on the name of it now. Damn it. But on the book that Agatha is showing Wanda about the Scarlet Witch, there is some little multiverse stuff on the other page. Very, very subtle reference. But I did see people, I completely missed it. Some people were pointing it out on Twitter. We know in the end credit scene, though, too, that as she's studying the book, she can hear the twins crying out. So we know they exist somewhere. I have a current theory that she's going to tear the multiverse open, probably accidentally, as she's trying to get to her kids. And it's going to create a lot of problems that Doctor Strange is probably not going to have good feelings about. And Agatha did mention, as she was going over the book, that the Scarlet Witch is supposed to be more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, which is Doctor Strange. So it does lead us to some things that we knew we were going toward, but it doesn't really give us any new information, which is unfortunate. Which brings me to some stuff that I think could have been worked on. Was it a disappointment? I know some fans were disappointed because of all the theories that were going around. Some people have been fighting online, saying that fans shouldn't speculate anyway, so they're doing it to themselves. Star Wars fans have this problem too, where they tend to over speculate and then they get disappointed by whatever Star Wars puts out because it's not what they thought they were going to get or hoped they were going to get. So it is always a kind of dangerous game to play. But in their defense, I really think WandaVision did this to itself because um, Marvel, one, really hyped up some of this stuff. They put in a lot of red herrings that turned out to be complete misleads in the show itself. Dottie, for one, Dottie was purposefully left off the board of the Westview residents, just like Agnes was. Of course, Agnes turned out to be Agatha. So we thought, of course, Dottie would be somebody else. Turned out Dottie was nobody. And Emma Caulfield doing an interview with Vanity Fair, confirming that that was the whole point of her casting, was that she was told she would be a red herring. And that's how the character was supposed to operate, but also complete disappointment because there was no payout for it. Evan Peters was a major one. He confused everybody because he was, Quicksilver in the Fox films, in the Fox X-Men films, showing up to be fake Pietro, or Fietro, as Agatha calls him in this show. And he turned out to be nobody also. People were speculating that maybe he would be a villain, all of these other things, and he turned out to be nobody. He turned out to be Ralph, which is Agnes's husband she kept mentioning, and it's all because she moved into his house and possessed him. He turned out to be nobody, and they used it to make a stupid joke. Jimmy Woo's witness protection contact, that was the whole reason he came across the Westview anomaly in the first place, was somebody from witness protection disappeared in there. We never found out who that was. People were wondering who that was. Monica's contact. They built up Monica's contact for 3 episodes, and it turned out to be nobody. Nobody of major importance, anyway. So it got a lot of people talking, and it's good that it makes people speculate on some things. But you want there to be an equal payout, and I don't think they really provided that. And that's going to be a note that they're going to have to deal with. The director even saying ahead of the finale, dropping that people were probably going to be disappointed. That's not the kind of headline you want to be putting out the day of the finale. So I definitely think that there needs to be like an amping up of Marvel. This operated really like the MCU always has been. They've always kind of played it very safe as they've built the MCU, but now I think the MCU is so successful, and the Disney Plus shows are bound to be just as successful also. Why not amp it up? Maybe that's their idea. Maybe now the streaming shows will operate in a more safe capacity, and they'll really dial up the movies more than they have in the past. I hope so. I hope they do something. Because I think it just needs more at this point. Just give us more. We want more. But anyway, that was my thoughts on WandaVision as a whole series. I loved it regardless. I think it's a fantastic show. Perfect origin story for the Scarlet Witch, and it definitely still makes me excited for things going forward. Let me know what you think about it, though, in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.